Hello, this is Faith at Faith and Books. How are you doing? I finished the book Middlemarch yesterday, and I thought I better make a video now before I forget. I don't think I'm going to get to a book tour this week. Too many other things going on. But I just thought I would talk about Middlemarch now. It was a buddy read with Linda Jo Martin of Linda's, oh my gosh, I'm going to link below, Linda's Cozy Art and Reading Corner or something. Linda, I'm so sorry that I remember. That's terrible. Anyway, we read it together. She finished before I did. She did mostly audio, I believe. I actually read this on my Kindle, but then I got this out of the library so I could keep up with where exactly I was in the book. Kindles are disorienting to me in that way, and so I do like to have a physical book so I can just see where I am. And then sometimes I'll read a chapter in the physical book. So I love George Eliot. This is the third January in a row that I read a George Eliot. I don't know why, but January and George Eliot go together for me. So 3 years ago I read Romola, and last January I read Felix Holt, and then I reread this. So when the mini-series came out, I don't know when it was, early 90s, late 80s, I saw that on TV. I had not read the book before, and I loved it so much. I went out to the library and got the book and read it, and I loved it. I thought it was just amazing. And I haven't read it since then, so it's been 25 years or something. I'd completely forgotten one aspect of the plot, but except for that, I remembered most of it. I love the way she begins it by referring to St. Teresa of Avila, and how she, St. Teresa of Avila, when she was a little girl, had wanted to go on the Crusades. She had aspired to greatness. And then, of course, she did become great. She became this great reformer and this great mentor of other saints, St. John of the Cross. And she's a doctor of the church, so she went on to very great things. And she also closes it with a reference to Teresa. And it's sort of about what happens to people. It's a complex novel, but it's this town, Middlemarch, and some of the prominent people in it and their ambitions and what happens to them. So there's, the first one we meet is Dorothea Brooke, and she's got a sister, Celia, and she has an uncle, Mr. Brooke. I'm not sure what his first name was. And Dorothea, it has aspirations of greatness. She's very passionately Christian in kind of almost like a puritanical way. She's kind of severe. She is repulsed by the poverty on her uncle's estate, that he doesn't take care of the tenants there. And she dreams of, I think in modern times she would have been an architect. She dreams of designing new cottages and planning out, better ways to design things. And she meets one of the other neighbors, the landowners in the environs of Middlemarch, Mr. Casaubon, who's a clergyman and he's a scholar, and he's doing this great research work, the keys to all mythology. He's much older than her and kind of sickly, and she's just so starry-eyed with this ambition to do something great, and she just latches on to his project, his academic project, as something great that she would be able to help him with. And so they get married, so it's the story of their marriage. And then there's another family whose land lies right next to the Brookes, and that's Sir James, Chatham, I think that was his name. He winds up marrying Celia. It's a book about marriage to a great extent. Other married couples we see, or lovers that we see, are Fred and Mary Garth. I love the whole Garth family. And then we see the Vinceys, and they're two. Fred is Fred Vincey, and then his sister is Rosamund. And then there's a doctor that comes to the town that wants to set up a practice, and he's very ambitious. He's full of new ideas. He wants to get involved in this fever hospital that's being sponsored by the banker and sort of the guy who pulls all the strings in the town, Mr. Bulstrode. And so it's just a story of all these people and their relationships. So a lot of it's about marriage. A lot of it's about money and what money does to you and your people's different attitudes towards money. Oh, we have the Fairbrother. Mr. Fairbrother is a clergyman who supports his mother, his aunt, and someone else. I think he's got 3 older women or just 2 older women that he has to support. Am I getting everyone? Oh, and then there's Mr. Casaubon's cousin, who's kind of a black sheep, and that's Will Ladislaw. So it's, and then there's other characters in the town. But it's about relationships with money, like what money can do for you or how it can corrupt you. A lot of it's about selfishness, like people who are selfish basically hurt themselves. They hurt others and they hurt themselves. It's just a wonderful, wonderful novel. It's just very, very rich. And to me, now Linda was a little staggered by the length. Let's see what this Penguin edition is. How long? 826. No, that's not right. It's even longer than that. But at times it felt a little bit long. But it's just a lot. It's a lot to read. But it reads really quickly. The pacing is wonderful. I never felt bogged down in it at all. I always wanted to know what was going to happen next. And I never, it didn't drag. Sometimes like Dickens really drags to me because he's just so wordy. But I didn't feel like there was any wordiness in this. And I love the little, before every chapter, she has this little, what do you call this? An epigraph? Is that what you call that? I forget what it's called. A little quote. And these kind of books used to really frustrate me when I was a kid because like she'll have something from Dante in Italian or something German, from Goethe or something, and it won't be translated. Like, how am I supposed to know what you mean? I'm not. It just shows you how educated people were in the Victorian age, where you could just assume that people knew Latin and Greek and Italian and French. Now I can't find any of that. I'm looking. Anyway, I don't want to go on too long. I really enjoyed it. It's just really profound. One thing, though, that I noticed this time around was how scathing she is about pettiness and hypocrisy. Like, she's very... She almost reminded me, and I think I said this to Linda, that she almost reminded me of C.S. Lewis, like in The Great Divorce or in Screwtape Letters, where she talks about how evil that pettiness and the gossip and the backstabbing and the just the way people treat each other is such a nasty, nasty thing, and she's quite scathing about it. But she can be very gentle too, as well. And the one thing that intrigues me, and also maybe it makes me a little unsettled, is that she's very every character that we learn about, Rosamond, Dr. Lydgate, Fred, Dorothea, Mr. Casaubon, we get a pretty objective analysis of them and a real sharp criticism of their faults. Like, what their faults are. But she doesn't ever seem to do that for Will Ladislaw. And Will Ladislaw is doing something that isn't right. And yet, there's nothing but sympathy for him. Like, he is presented slightly differently than the others, I think. And I wonder if Will Ladislaw is like George Eliot. Like, George Eliot really sympathizes with Will Ladislaw, because I know that she married, or I don't know if she married, but she lived with a man who was married who couldn't get a divorce because of the divorce laws. And I don't know very much about her, and I would like to read a biography of George Eliot because I think she sounds like she's fascinating, and I would love to know more about her. But I think maybe this might be a spoiler, but that might be why she's so uncondemning or she doesn't have the same cold eye when analyzing Will Ladislaw as she does the others. It seemed to me. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say. It is a really, really good book. A lot of stuff happens. You meet and get to know a lot of really interesting, complex people. Yeah, and the ending is really good, except it's a little bit poignant. So, yeah, all right, that's all I'm going to say. 11 minutes. Okay, all right. I hope you're doing well, and happy reading.